Hey yo, what's good, people? It's your boy reporting live from the 90s and the 2000s. Some of the craziest stories in sneaker culture didn't come from what actually released. They came from the pairs that got shut down, the samples that leaked, and the rumors that ran wild, as well as the colorways we only saw in grainy photos or somebody's cousin's plug. Some of these cancellations are confirmed history. Some live in that sneaker lore gray area, but every one of them had the streets waiting before the brands pulled the plug. Before we jump in, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment on the one canceled sneaker you still think about to this day. Alright, let's lace them on up. Man, the Freddy Krueger dunks were the kind of shoe that made the whole sneaker world stop and say, hold up, they're dropping that? Back in 2007, SB was already in its golden era, cooking up wild concepts, horror themes, and those left field collabs that nobody saw coming. So when samples of the dunk low covered in blood splatter, sweater stripes, and that metallic boiler room silver hit the blogs, it felt like Nike was about to break the internet before the internet even had the bandwidth. Now here's the whole story. Nike never had the rights to Freddy Krueger. This wasn't an official movie collab, and Warner Brothers wasn't playing those games. The second the licensors got wind of the shoe, the lawyers dropped that shut it down energy immediately. According to multiple sources and old school sneaker forums from the era, Nike ordered most pairs to be destroyed, and a few slipped out, either stolen, backdoored, or already in transit, and those random survivors turned into one of the most infamous, expensive samples in SB history. It's important to note the cancellation is real, the legal pressure is real, and the pairs that escape destruction are real. But how many made it out? That's where the folklore kicks in. Some say a full-size run survived. Some say under a dozen pairs. Nobody outside of a handful of collectors truly knows, and Nike never confirmed the number. Either way, this sneaker became myth level, a canceled horror shoe so real you could almost hear Freddy scraping the dunk box with the claws. Hey yo. The Kobe 3 is one of those shoes that sits in that weird space between real design and did we imagine this? Maybe it was a Mandela effect. Adidas was deep in their experimental bag in the early 2000s. Kobe was the young phenom, the face of the line, and the whole Audi-inspired sneaker era was still going strong. They dropped the Kobe 1, the 2, and right as they were gearing up for the 3, everything fell apart. Here's the truth behind the cancellation. Kobe was leaving Adidas. He bought his way out of the contract in 2002 because he wanted more creative control and a brand that matched where he was headed. Once he dipped, Adidas shut the entire line down instantly. Any future colorways, samples, prototypes were gone. Adidas wasn't going to release a shoe with his name on it if he wasn't in the building anymore. Design-wise, the Kobe 3 existed in sketches, catalogs, and a few rumored prototypes, but it never hit retail. No official release date, no confirmed production run. Some collectors swear they've seen legit samples floating around, but Adidas never publicly acknowledged a finished version. This is one of those cases where the cancellation is confirmed, but the physical shoe is more murky, half fact, half sneaker cryptid. Still, the idea of the Kobe 3 tells its own story. Kobe was already evolving. The Audi era was fading out, and his next chapter, his Nike chapter, was about to rewrite sneaker culture. The cancellation wasn't just about a shoe, it was about a whole career turning a corner. The Nike Zoom Vick 5 is one of the cleanest examples of a sneaker that was ready to launch. Had marketing behind it, had momentum, and then got erased overnight. By 2007, Michael Vick wasn't just a quarterback, he was a cultural figure. Kids were wearing Falcons jerseys to school. Madden players were treating him like a cheat code, and Nike had a whole signature line built around his speed-first identity. The Vick 5 was supposed to be the next step, a sleeker, more modern evolution of the line with that early 2000s Nike football tech vibe. Then, the scandal hit. When the dogfighting investigation went public, Nike slammed the brakes instantly. This cancellation is fully documented. Nike confirmed it at the time, pulled the campaign, stopped production, and cut the signature line. Some pairs had already been made, and like a lot of shoes that get pulled midstream, a few leaked out through reps, outlets, and sample circles. But the Vick 5 never received an official release, never hit shelves, and never got the rollout Nike had planned. This is one of those moments where the sneaker itself wasn't the issue, the player was, allegedly. A clean design, fully ready for retail, caught in the crossfire of real-world consequences. And because Nike wiped it so aggressively, it sits in that strange lane of we know it exists, we know why it died, but barely anybody ever held a pair. This next joint, the Nike Hypermax McFly, is one of those cancellations that had the whole sneaker world salty, because this pair wasn't just hype, it was destined to hit. Nike had already done the McFly theme once with the Hyperdunk in 2008, and it turned into a cultural moment. Marty McFly, colorway, Back to the Future energy, and a rollout tied to the Olympic buzz. So naturally, Nike planned to follow it up with a Hypermax version in 2009. Same futuristic blues and grays, glow vibes, and the perfect nostalgic combo. Everything was lined up, and then it got clipped. The reason wasn't performance or design, it was licensing drama. The McFly theme wasn't an official licensed by Back to the Future collab. The original Hyperdunk slid through because Nike stayed quiet about the inspiration. But once the internet blew it up and everybody was running their mouth calling them the McFlys, Universal Pictures and the owners of the Back to the Future IP caught wind. Then they weren't feeling it. And they wasn't feeling Nike cooking up more pairs without signing the proper paperwork. So the Hypermax McFly, despite being fully made and sitting in production cycles, got scrapped before release. Retailers never received official shipments. Most pairs that surfaced were promo samples, early production runs, or seeded units that leaked before the shutdown. This one isn't myth or rumor, it's a confirmed cancellation, tied directly to the rights issues. The shoe existed, it was real, it was scheduled, but legally Nike couldn't touch the name or the aesthetic without cutting the check, and I guess they weren't trying to do that. Alright, so now we got the Air Jordan 6 reverse infrareds, and this is one of the samples that felt like a fever dream if you weren't plugged into early 2000s sneaker culture. Back then, Jordan brand wasn't cooking up a million colorways like today. A Jordan 6 sample, especially something flipping an OG color, was rare. So when this pair surfaced behind the scenes around 2000, people paid attention. Here's what we know for real. This shoe was never scheduled for a retail release. It existed strictly as a sample, meaning Jordan brand was playing around with color blocking and seeing what could work for future retros. Instead of the iconic black upper with infrared hits, this sample flipped the script. A mostly infrared upper with deeper accents. It looked wild for the era, especially because loud colors weren't mainstream like they are now. A few pairs made it out. Catalog shots, collector photos, and sample circles confirm the shoe is real, but there's no official production run, no release date, and no evidence Jordan brand ever planned to drop it. This is one of those it existed but only in the lab situations. Unlike the Freddy Kruegers, there was no real legal drama. Unlike the Kobes, no contract switches. Unlike the Vick 5s, no scandal. It was simply a we tried it and moment for Jordan brand. The Nike Air Garnett 2s is one of those sneakers that tells a whole story without ever needing a press release. By '99, Kevin Garnett was one of Nike's rising giants, young, explosive, and carrying that future of the league energy. The Air Garnett 2 was supposed to be the next big step, following the success of the first model. And while Air Garnett 2 did release, there were colorways and sample versions tied to the shoe that got quietly canceled once KG's relationship with Nike started falling apart. Here's the real part of the history. Around this time, Garnett wanted a bigger creative role and a stronger push behind the line. Nike wasn't giving him that, and the tension was building. When he left Nike in 2000 to sign to And1, anything Nike had in the pipeline, extra colorways, late-stage samples, planned expansions of the two, got shut down immediately. That's why pairs show up in odd places. Sample tags, catalog shots, early prototypes that never hit shelves. This isn't a myth situation. You can find legit unreleased AG2 samples floating in collector circles, but Nike never confirmed the exact colorways or production numbers because once the partnership ended, they buried everything fast. It's one of those rare cases where a release signature shoe also comes with a shadow side. Designs that were already in motion but got erased the moment the athlete switched teams. So the Air Garnett 2 ends up being the perfect closer for this list. A canceled chapter inside a real shoe. What could have been ending the Nike's Garnett era, with just enough proof to show the story happened and just enough mystery to make sneakerheads still dig for the missing pieces. And well, that's the wild thing about canceled sneakers. They tell you just as much about the culture as the pairs we actually got. Sometimes it's lawyers stepping in, sometimes it's players switching teams, sometimes it's a whole scandal blowing a rollout to ashes, and sometimes it's just a colorway that never made it past the lab. But every one of those shoes had the streets talking, had blogs refreshing, and had collectors hunting, even though most people never touched a pair in their life. Canceled sneakers are like sneaker history ghost stories, half confirmed, half whispered, but always interesting. If you rocked with this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment about the one canceled sneaker you wish Nike, Adidas, Jordan Brand, or anybody actually brought out. And until next time, man, stay laced up. We out, y'all.